Today, we will examine the implications of colonial education in Africa to 21st century education. In many African countries today, there are a lot of meaningful discussions and conflicts over the agenda of the decolonization of education through curriculum change and the Africanization of learning in Africa. Before discussing this, it is crucial to recognize that socialization mechanisms existed in pre-colonial Africa. It was developed progressively to pass on knowledge and skills to younger generations. These knowledge and skills were necessary for the survival of individuals, groups, and entire communities. Understanding the educational paradigms embedded in their culture is vital to understanding and inheriting their spirit and philosophy. However, the arrival of the colonial powers made African knowledge and skills unimportant. It was not accepted into African education in a way that made indigenous people feel equally capable and possess a valuable history. Formal education introduced by missionaries during the colonial era was primarily to serve religious purposes and to train low-level civil servants in the colonial states. Instead of focusing on local realities, education was a form of teaching the communities of the colonial nations, spreading their culture and literature, and condemning all that was indigenous and was used to introduce a new way of life. In addition to religious and cultural domination, the language of the colonial masters was introduced and expanded through formal education. Because of this system, Africans were educated to think that they had little or no knowledge to learn about the system they had. The colonial education system inherited after independence continued to isolate the public who could not access colonial languages. In addition, even after decolonization, a stable, decolonized country could not be formed due to a weak educational system. And they had no choice but to rely on the education imposed by the Western standard. In these times and circumstances, the African indigenous knowledge, skills, and attitudes are critical to building an education system for the 21st century. Many African education readers acknowledge that education has played a pivotal role in the emergence of global modernity and has played an essential role in reforming, improving, and civilizing. In conclusion, for the agenda of decolonization of education through curriculum change and Africanization of African learning to succeed, it is necessary to reform African identity and redefine knowledge about African culture and values. Next, the transcultural and transreligious affinity formed by the Western education system and some contributions to global modernity should be used as a scaffolding to pursue the education demanded by the 21st century. Today, we discussed the implications of African colonial education to 21st century education. Colonial education, on the one hand, weakened the essence of African indigenous knowledge systems, which were not accepted into African education. On the other hand, it created transcultural and transreligious affinity and contributed to the need for science and technology education and the emergence of global modernity. Therefore, the African continent must develop its education system to be suitable for the 21st century by reasserting African identity and redefining knowledge about African culture and values.